The old house on Sycamore Lane stood silent, its warped wooden boards groaning under the weight of 100 autumns. Clara had always loved it, the way the ivy clung to the walls like desperate fingers, the way the windows glinted like eyes in the moonlight. She'd met Elias here 5 years ago, under the harvest moon, when the air smelled of damp earth and possibility. His laugh had been warm, his hands gentle. They carved their initials into the oak tree out back, C&E, forever. But forever was a lie. Clara stood in the kitchen now, her breath shallow, the air thick with the metallic tang of blood. The knife lay on the counter, its blade catching the flicker of a dying bulb. She hadn't meant to pick it up. She hadn't meant for any of this. It started with small things. Elias's smile dimmed over the years, replaced by a shadow that clung to him like damp rot. He'd stay out late, his phone buzzing with messages he'd snatch away before she could see. Work, he'd mutter, but his eyes never met hers. Clara tried to hold on. Love was patient, wasn't it? She cooked his favorite meals, wore the dresses he liked, ignored the whispers in town about the woman seen leaving his car. Then came the pain. Not the kind you see coming, but the kind that creeps, slow and insidious. A bruise on her wrist where he'd grabbed her too hard, a shouted word that cut deeper than any blade. Each time he'd cry, beg forgiveness, and she'd melt into his arms, believing the Elias she loved was still there, buried beneath the anger. Last night, under the same harvest moon, she'd followed him. The house on Sycamore Lane wasn't theirs anymore. It was hers, a gift from her grandmother, but Elias had been coming here alone. Clara hid in the shadows, watching as he let himself in, his key glinting like a betrayal. Inside she heard laughter, not his, but hers. The other woman. Clara's heart twisted, a scream trapped in her throat. She waited until the woman left, her silhouette fading into the fog. Then she entered, quiet as a ghost. Elias was in the living room, pouring whiskey, humming softly. He didn't hear her until she spoke. "Why?" Her voice was a cracked whisper. He froze, the glass slipping from his hand, shattering on the floor. "Clara, Don't." She stepped closer, the knife from the kitchen somehow in her hand. She didn't remember picking it up. "You promised me forever." His eyes widened, not with fear, but with something darker, defiance. "You're pathetic," he sneered, "clinging to a dream that's dead. You think you can keep me?"
The words were a spark to dry tinder. Clara's vision blurred, her heart pounding a rhythm of rage and grief. The knife moved before she could stop it, slicing through the air, then flesh. Elias gasped, stumbling back, his hands clawing at the wound in his chest. Blood bloomed like a rose, soaking his shirt, pooling on the floor. He fell, his eyes locked on hers, not with love, but with accusation. Clara dropped the knife, her hands trembling. The house was silent again, save for the drip of blood on wood. She sank to her knees, her sobs echoing in the empty space where love used to live. But the house wasn't empty. A chill crept up her spine, the air growing heavy. The lights flickered, and a whisper brushed her ear, not Elias's voice, but something older, hungrier. The ivy outside rustled, though there was no wind. The windows seemed to pulse, watching her. Clara's breath hitched as she felt it. The house was alive, feeding on her pain, her betrayal, her sin. She tried to stand, to run, but the floorboards creaked and shifted, trapping her. Shadows moved in the corners, coiling like smoke. Elias's body twitched, his dead eyes opening, gleaming with an unnatural light. His lips parted, and a voice not his own rasped, "You belong here now, with us." Clara screamed, but the house swallowed the sound. The walls closed in, the ivy tightening like a noose. She clawed at the door, but it wouldn't budge. The initials on the oak tree outside burned in her mind. C and E. Forever. The house agreed. Forever was no lie, not here. As the moonlight faded, Clara's screams became part of the walls, her pain woven into the very bones of Sycamore Lane, where love had turned to something far worse than death.